On 5 News, British troops face allegations of war crimes in Afghanistan. The Ministry of Defence confirms it's investigating hundreds of complaints. One former military commander says troops' lives are being ruined.
The lack of moral fibre at the very top of the army means that servicemen and women have no confidence that the people in charge are looking out for them.
Also, a breast cancer scandal. How thousands of women are missing out on a potentially life-saving drug that costs just 43 pence a day. Syria's president accuses America of intentionally killing 60 of his soldiers.
Don't even look us in our face!
A state of emergency is declared in North Carolina after a second night of rioting. And
well, I'm looking for them both to be of equal size.
the Bake Off breakup is complete. Mary Berry quits, but Paul Hollywood says he's staying. Hello and welcome to 5 News. I'm Sian Williams. Lives have been ruined. Enough is enough. That's what a former Army senior officer has told 5 News after the government confirmed it's investigating mass allegations of abuse against British soldiers who fought in Afghanistan. More than 500 claims involving Afghan detainees are now being looked at by a special unit. It follows criticism about the scope of an inquiry into similar claims against British soldiers in Iraq. Here's Simon Vigar.
Under fire from the Taliban and Iraqi insurgents, British soldiers say they're now under fire at home. The latest revelation is that Operation Northmoor is looking at more than 500 claims from Afghanistan. That's on top of 1,500 from Iraq. Commanders who were there say enough is enough.
I think there's a number of individuals who've had their lives ruined and they'll want redress. And that inevitably is going to bring cases by soldiers against the system. And following that, the lack of support, the lack of moral fibre at the very top of the army means that servicemen and women have no confidence that the people in charge are looking out for them.
The case of Sergeant Al Blackman divides opinion, even within the military. Some think his imprisonment for shooting a wounded Taliban fighter is justified. Others say the Royal Marine should be freed.
Yeah, I'll shut off his mortal coil, you nothing you would do to us.
Another notorious case is the death of Baha Musa in Basra in 2003. In 2007, one soldier pleaded guilty to inhumane treatment, and in 2011, a public inquiry found that Baha Musa had been beaten to death in British Army custody. Another inquiry reported in 2014 on a separate incident in Iraq. The Al-Swedi inquiry cost £25 million and cleared British soldiers of torture and murder, instead accusing Iraqis of falsifying claims. Now we know 550 cases relating to Afghanistan are being investigated, including a Taliban bomb maker who claims he was unlawfully detained. Today, the Prime Minister visited the Ministry of Defence. She's previously said she wants to crack down on unscrupulous lawyers, and this is today's statement from the Ministry. Our armed forces are rightly held to the highest standards, and whilst rare, where there are credible claims of criminal behaviour, we should investigate them. An independent investigation is the best way to make sure that innocent personnel are not dragged through the courts without cause. From the battlefields to the courtrooms, for better or for worse, our most recent wars are already the most scrutinised in military history. Simon Vigar, 5 News.
Thousands of women with breast cancer are missing out on a potentially life-saving drug that costs just 43 pence a day. A charity says even though the drug has been shown to stop the disease spreading, patients aren't being offered it because of confusion about who funds it. Let's talk to Olivia Kinsley, who's with me. What exactly is this drug, Olivia?
This is about a group of drugs called bisphosphonates, which traditionally have been used to treat osteoporosis where the bones weaken. But in recent years, they've also been found to be effective in stopping breast cancer spreading to the bones of women who've got the disease after they've had the menopause. Now, the charity Breast Cancer Now says that some 27,000 women a year who could be getting these drugs are not. That's despite research showing that they can cut the risk of dying in the first 10 years after diagnosis by 18%, and that they could save up to 1,000 lives a year. They found this out by speaking to cancer experts, many of whom say the biggest problem is confusion over who should pay for these drugs.
There are so many bodies involved in commissioning breast cancer, whether it's clinical commissioning groups and GPs or whether it's NHS England through their specialist commissioning bodies. It's just so confusing, and we've got some of the most fantastic clinicians in the world operating in the NHS, but we need to give them the tools to do the job.
Confusing, but also frustrating for patients, bearing in mind the drug is so cheap. What's being done to sort the problem out?
Well, NH England has said in response today that decisions on the funding of these drugs are currently made locally, but it says that their use will be considered by the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence. That's the body that decides which drugs are made available. That's in the upcoming guidance, which will be coming out next time around. In the meantime, the charity is calling for these drugs to be made available across the UK as soon as possible.
Olivia, thank you. Syria's President Bashar al-Assad has accused America of deliberately targeting his forces with an airstrike that killed 60 soldiers fighting so-called Islamic State. The US insists the incident on Saturday, which also involved RAF drones, was an accident. Mr. Assad also dismissed claims that Syrian or Russian planes were behind the deadly bombing of an aid convoy in Aleppo. Here's our political editor, Andy Bell.
This was Aleppo overnight, some of the heaviest bombing of opposition areas ever seen. A painstakingly negotiated ceasefire has collapsed. The destruction of this relief convoy on Monday, the final blow. Yesterday, the Americans said this must have been done by either the Syrian government or their Russian allies. But today, in an interview, the Syrian president has denounced that as American lies. He also accused the US of killing at least 60 Syrian soldiers deliberately in an airstrike at the weekend. And on the wider war, President Assad said, "I believe the US is not genuine regarding having a cessation of violence in Syria." At the UN in New York, Russia and America are supposed to be talking peace. But in Washington, America's top general was not mincing his words when it came to that attack on the convoy.
There is no doubt in my mind that the Russians are responsible. I just don't know whose aircraft actually dropped the bomb. So I would certainly associate myself with the comment that you made earlier that, yes, it is the Russians that were responsible.
One aid convoy is on its way to rural Damascus, but all the others remain suspended after Monday's attack, despite pleas from the UN.
The food will be expiring on Monday. The drivers are sleeping at the border, and they've done so now for a week. Please, President Assad, do your bit to enable us to get to eastern Aleppo and also the other besieged areas.
And as the aid and the diplomacy stall, the agony resumes. This was the town of Homs. And these are the people who now wait and hope for a breakthrough. Andy Bell, 5 News.
CJ de Moy, a former panellist on the BBC quiz show Eggheads, has appeared in court after being arrested for an alleged killing. The 46-year-old, who appeared under his real name of Joseph Connor, was arrested at Heathrow Airport. It's in connection with an alleged incident in Amsterdam nearly 20 years ago. Workers at Southern Railway are to stage 14 days of strike action over the next few months. It's part of their long-running dispute over the role of conductors. The first strike will be a 3-day walkout beginning on the 11th of October. And couples who need IVF treatment on the NHS in England are being offered fewer cycles against clinical guidelines. Campaigners say provision of IVF is at its lowest since the recommendations were introduced 12 years ago. The NHS blames a lack of resources. Now, she was arguably the key ingredient to the Great British Bake Off success. But like Mel and Sue before her, Mary Berry has announced she won't be staying with the show when it moves to Channel 4. Her reason, she says, is her loyalty to the BBC. But even though 3 of its stars are leaving, the show is keeping some of its Hollywood appeal. Ruth Liptrod reports.
Yeah.
A true baker. Just imagine it's dough and it'll be perfect.
If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. And it looks as if Mary Berry can't because she's off, confirming that she won't be going with Bake Off to Channel 4. In a statement today, she said, "My decision to stay with the BBC is out of loyalty to them, as they've nurtured me and the show," adding farewell to soggy bottoms. Paul Hollywood, though, is going with the dough, despite reportedly being offered a role on Top Gear if he stayed at the BBC. His statement said, "It's been a huge part of my life in the past few years, and I just couldn't turn my back on all that." But could a yes from Paul and a no from Mary be a recipe for disaster?
A lot of viewers will conclude that the Bake Off without Mary Berry is not the Bake Off.
It's not just about Mary, though. The show's already lost its presenters.
Interesting. As we say in the breakfast cereal world, cheerio. I'm leaving the tent, guys. It's been really great.
So let's imagine that this cake represents Bake Off, right? We take out one big slice of Mel, another slice of Sue, and one great big slice of Mary Berry. There's not that much cake left. And the customers at Rinkoff's Bakery were not happy at the news. Mary Berry is leaving Bake Off.
Oh my God.
I know.
Shocking.
Are you all right?
I'm okay. I think I'm okay. I don't know if I'm okay.
Mel, Sue and Mary.
That's a betrayal.
I don't know how it's going to survive.
That's bad.
Yeah.
For the show and for the baking.
That's like an iced bun without the icing, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
It's just a bun.
Exactly.
But after paying $75 million for it, Channel 4 will be desperate to make it work. So who on earth will they get to fill Mary's shoes? Richard Burr was a finalist on the show in 2014.
It's a poison chalice, isn't it? Whoever jumps into her shoes has got to basically win people over. And how can someone be more charming and more lovely than Mary?
These sound amazing in flavours. Be careful of the texture of the coconut that doesn't destroy it.
Oh, Paul, you might have more to worry about than the texture of the coconut. Ruth Liptrot, 5 News.
Thanks, buddy. That's all right.
Still to come on the programme. Another night of violence in North Carolina after the death of a black man shot by police.
Enough is enough. It's gone too far. The cops in America are way too aggressive.
And after the Brangelina split, the actress Marion Cotillard speaks out over those Hollywood rumours. All that and more after the break. Hello and welcome back. You're watching 5 News. A state of emergency has been declared in the American city of Charlotte after a second night of violence there. What began on Tuesday as a protest against the police shooting of a black man again descended into clashes, with officers firing rubber bullets, tear gas and flash grenades into the crowds. Danny Sinha reports.
Squaring up to police, protesters want officers to know they've crossed the line. Hundreds of demonstrators have taken to the streets of North Carolina as police block the entrance to a hotel. This is a community who wants their force to acknowledge them. A second night of riots, police are aware that one false move could make the situation even worse. Officers used tear gas to disperse the crowd. Overnight, one person was shot and critically wounded by another civilian. At least 7 police officers were also hurt.
Enough is enough. It's gone too far. The cops in America are way too aggressive. They pick on the little people.
The riots started after Keith Lamont Scott was shot by police on Tuesday. He died in hospital. The officers who found him insist he was carrying a gun. His family, though, claim he was holding a book. Today, the police chief said they would only release video footage of the shooting to the family and stuck to their version of events.
What I can tell you, though, is when taken in the totality of all the other evidence, it supports what we've heard and the version of the truth that we gave about the circumstances that happened.
It's reignited America's issue of race and once again questioned if Black Lives Matter. The National Guard has been sent in to help police restore order. Looted shops and broken glass, a reminder that something here has broken and needs putting back together fast. Danny Sinha, 5 News.
The families fought for 27 years for justice. Their campaign for the truth finally vindicated in April when the Hillsborough inquest delivered a verdict of unlawful killing on the 96 who died. Now, those victims are being given the freedom of the city of Liverpool in a special ceremony tonight. Peter Lane reports from there.
In the city they were never able to return to, life goes on. But the Hillsborough victims aren't forgotten, and tonight will be formally honoured with the freedom of Liverpool. The banners are up at St George's Hall, setting for the ceremony. Inside, 96 lamps will represent the victims themselves, including Michael Kelly. Each will receive a medal and scroll to recognise the bond they have with this city as a whole. It's the first time Liverpool has given the freedom of the city posthumously. Michael's brother Steve will collect the award on his behalf.
It's a bittersweet experience for me because I wish he wasn't getting it in the circumstance. But I feel Mike and the other 95 have actually earned this. You know, they've inspired people to empower themselves. And Mike's death, sadly, has given people that voice. And yeah, I am very, very proud of him, and always was and always will be. And wherever I walk in the city now, I can say I'm related to a freeman of Liverpool.
After the inquest ruling of unlawful killing, the criminal investigation into the disaster continues. Away from that backdrop, Liverpool is formally acknowledging its respect for the 96 victims.
We want to mark their names into the future, and to do that in a very honourable way and respectful. Those scrolls are beautiful, the medals are beautiful, and to be able to hand them down, there'll be really tangible evidence of the mark that those people made in our city.
The physical memorials and tributes here play their part, but now the Hillsborough victims are even more tightly woven into the very fabric of this city. Peter Lane, 5 News.
Prince William says the world has a moral duty to end the trade in ivory. Currently, ivory is legal in this country if the owner can prove it's an antique over 70 years old. But Prince William says it should be banned altogether. He says African elephant numbers have fallen by 2/3 since he was born, and at the current rate could disappear from the wild altogether.
One of our planet's most treasured species is on course for extinction at the hands of poachers and traffickers. When I was born, there were 1 million elephants roaming Africa.
Prince William. Now, there have been endless rumours about Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie's shock split, but now one star has issued an official denial that she was involved. The actress Marion Cotillard took the unusual step of speaking out after allegations that Brad Pitt had been having an affair with her. In fact, she says she's now expecting a child with the man of her life, her partner of 9 years. Minnie Stevenson has the story.
You guys look awesome tonight, man.
Just what might have happened between Brad and Angelina has become front-page news around the world, with earlier reports suggesting that Hollywood's golden power couple split was linked to his latest co-star and an alleged affair. Within hours of the news that Angelina was filing for divorce, this trailer of Brad and Marion Cotillard in their new film Allied was released.
They're watching us. Now kiss me.
But the French actress has made it clear on-screen chemistry does not translate off. Cotillard took the unprecedented step of releasing a statement strongly denying any involvement and announcing that she's now expecting her second baby with partner Guillaume Canet. The actress said, "This is going to be my first and only reaction to the whirlwind news that broke 24 hours ago and that I was swept up into. I am not used to commenting on things like this, nor taking them seriously, but as this situation is spiralling and affecting people I love, I have to speak up. Firstly, many years ago, I met the man of my life, father of our son and of the baby we are expecting. He is my love, my best friend, the only one that I need." As the breakup of one of the world's most famous marriages hits the headlines, it's a far cry from the couple who were for 12 years together, fiercely private.
So Brad and Angelina are one of Hollywood's most private couples. They're really, really protective of their children. And so for this to all be being played out in the public eye will be really difficult for them, and for there to be so much speculation about what was going on at the heart of their marriage.
News of the impending divorce of one of Hollywood's once most solid couples continues to be played out in public. It's hard to believe that less than 2 years ago, Angelina said of Brad, "We'll be together till the end of our days." Minnie Stevenson, 5 News.
Well, we're back to Bake Off tonight. Matt's here to tell us what's on 5 News tonight.
That's exactly right, Sean. Tonight, the question that everyone is asking, can Bake Off ever be the same without Mary Berry? As the TV presenter announces that she won't follow the show to Channel 4, of course. I'll be talking to one former BBC executive about what he thinks will happen next. Let us know what you reckon about it all. Get in touch on our Facebook page, of course. Also, would you give away one of your kidneys for free? More than 500 people have gone under the knife for someone that they don't know and will never meet. I'll be talking to one of them at 6:30.
Look forward to that. Thank you, Matt. That is it for now, though. Sian Welby has the weather next. I'll see you on Monday. Matt's back at 6:30. Thanks for watching tonight. Bye for now.